Maria had always enjoyed the quiet mornings in her neighborhood. Birds sang in the trees, the sun spread golden light over the neat lawns, and everything felt safe. Her home was her sanctuary. She worked as a graphic designer, spending most of her day in front of the computer, but returning to her house gave her peace. That afternoon, Maria finished work earlier than usual. She felt excited to relax, make a cup of tea, and enjoy the sunshine on her small porch. She unlocked her car and stepped out, carrying her bag and a small shopping bag from the local store. As she walked up the driveway, a strange feeling settled in her stomach. Something seemed unusual about her front door. Her door was slightly open. Maria froze. She always locked it before leaving, and she never left it even slightly unlocked. A cold shiver ran down her spine. She held her bag tighter and cautiously moved closer. She peeked through the small glass window beside the door. Inside, everything looked normal. Her living room furniture was in place. Her rug, her favorite, green plant and the small table by the sofa all appeared untouched. Maria stepped back and dialed her friend Tom's number. Tom lived a few streets away and had a reputation for being extremely careful. If anything seemed off, he always knew what to do. "Hey, Tom," Maria whispered, glancing at her door. "Something's wrong. My front door is open. I'm sure I locked it this morning. Can you come over?" Tom's voice was calm but firm. "Stay outside. Don't go in. I'll call the police if you want. Can you see anyone around?" Maria looked across the street and saw a familiar figure. Mrs. Linda, the HOA representative, was walking toward her mailbox. Linda was a woman in her mid-40s, always dressed neatly in bright colors. She often smiled in a way that made Maria uncomfortable. Today, she had a big set of keys in her hand and was glancing at Maria's house as she walked slowly down the sidewalk. "Linda?" Maria said softly, stepping behind her car for cover. "Why is she here?" Tom's voice came urgently. "Do not go inside. Wait. Let the police handle it." Maria nodded, even though Tom could not see her. She took a deep breath and stepped back to watch Linda carefully. Linda reached Maria's porch and bent down as if examining the lock. Her fingers moved over the door handle. Maria's heart raced. She could not understand why Linda had her keys. The HOA had no right to enter her home without permission unless it was an emergency. Maria's phone buzzed. It was a text from her neighbor, Kevin. "Everything okay? I saw someone with keys at your door," Maria quickly typed back. "I don't know. It's Linda from the HOA. My door is open and she has keys. I'm waiting for police," Kevin replied instantly. "Stay calm. Don't let her in. I'm coming to watch too." Maria's mind raced. She remembered all the small letters she had received recently from the HOA. They complained about minor things like the color of her garden fence, the position of her potted plants, and even how high her grass grew. Maria had corrected everything. She did not understand why Linda was suddenly acting so bold. From behind her car, Maria could see Linda now standing at the door, trying to turn the handle. It was locked. Linda frowned and pulled out a different key. Maria's breath caught. That key should not have worked unless someone had copied it. "Tom, she has a key," Maria whispered. "I don't understand. How did she get a key?" Tom spoke calmly, but his words made Maria even more tense. "Someone has definitely copied it. Stay hidden. Don't confront her. I'm calling the police right now. They will be there soon." Maria tried to keep her hands steady. She was terrified but wanted to act smart. She glanced around. No one else was walking on the street, but she noticed the neighbor across the way, Mr. Harris, watching from his window. He waved at her nervously. Linda suddenly pushed the door gently and it opened. Maria could see her slowly step inside. Her stomach dropped. She could not believe this was happening. Her home, her sanctuary, was being entered without her permission. Maria whispered to Tom, "She's inside. What do I do?" "Stay calm," Tom replied. "I called the police. They are on the way. Do not go in. Hide where they cannot see you." Maria ducked behind the car again. She wanted to rush in and stop Linda, but she knew that would be dangerous. Linda was unpredictable. She had heard stories from other neighbors about how persistent Linda could be when enforcing HOA rules. Sometimes she even threatened fines over the smallest issues. Minutes felt like hours. Maria's mind was racing. She thought about every small detail in her house. Was her jewelry box safe? Was her laptop protected? She wished she had installed cameras earlier. Every possible scenario ran through her mind. Suddenly, she heard a soft sound. It was a key turning in a lock again. Linda seemed to be exploring the house slowly. She was cautious, almost as if she suspected someone might be inside. Maria held her breath. Then, a sudden idea came to her. She remembered the old flashlight she kept in her car. Quietly, she grabbed it and shined it toward the front window, just enough for Linda to see a small reflection. It was subtle, but it worked. Linda froze. Maria saw her shoulders stiffen and she stepped back slightly, glancing around as if realizing someone might be inside. "Tom," she stopped moving. Maria whispered. "Good. Hold on. The police are almost there," Tom said. Maria could see Linda peeking around, trying to figure out if anyone was watching her. She looked nervous now, her confident smile gone. She seemed unsure. That small hesitation gave Maria hope. Then, a siren in the distance made Maria's heart leap. The sound was faint at first, but it grew louder. Linda's eyes widened as she heard it too. She looked at the door, then at the street, then back at the house, realizing that something serious was happening. Maria felt a mix of fear and relief. The police were coming. Help was on the way. She stayed behind the car, her hands shaking as she watched Linda slowly back toward the door. Her confident manner had vanished. "Tom, they are coming," Maria said softly. "Yes. Just stay calm," Tom said. "You did everything right. Don't move until they get there." In that moment, Maria realized how vulnerable she had been. She had never imagined that her own HOA representative could enter her house without warning. But now she also realized that being alert and cautious had protected her. Her quick thinking, hiding, and keeping calm had made a difference. As the sirens grew louder, Linda finally stepped outside. Her face was pale, and she looked around nervously. Maria noticed that the keys were still in her hand. She had no idea what to say. Maria stayed behind her car, silent, watching every move. The sound of police cars stopping in front of the house made Linda freeze completely. 2 officers stepped out, moving toward the porch with careful steps. Maria could see their hands near their belts, ready but not aggressive. "Linda, ma'am, step away from the house," one officer called out firmly but politely. Linda's face turned even paler. She held the keys tightly and slowly stepped back. Maria felt a wave of relief wash over her. She was safe. She had acted smartly and stayed calm. From behind the car, Maria whispered to Tom, "I can't believe this happened." Tom replied softly, "You did everything right. The police are here now. Let them handle it." Maria watched as the officers entered her home carefully. Linda stood frozen on the porch, clearly shocked. Maria realized that her caution and alertness had prevented a much worse situation. She felt proud of herself for staying smart and patient. Even as her heart still raced, Maria felt a strange sense of empowerment. She knew now that she could handle difficult situations. She had faced fear, stayed calm, and protected herself. She would never forget this day. The police moved slowly through the house, checking every room. Maria stayed behind her car, watching and listening. She could hear their calm voices, asking questions and examining every corner. Her home was safe, and soon she would know exactly what had happened. The sound of the police radios filled the street as officers carefully moved through Maria's home. Maria stayed behind her car, her heart still racing. She could see the officer gesturing to another, and she noticed Linda standing on the porch, trembling slightly, her hands twisting the keys nervously. Maria had never seen someone from the HOA act this way. Officer Daniels, a tall man with a calm voice, spoke to Maria from across the driveway. "Ma'am, are you Maria?" "Yes," Maria replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I saw my door open and I didn't know what to do." "She's the HOA representative. She came in with keys." Officer Daniels nodded and glanced at Linda. "Ma'am, did you give her permission to enter?" Maria shook her head firmly. No, I never gave anyone permission. She has no right to enter my house without warning. I called my friend and then the police. The officer noted her statement and then turned to Linda. Can you explain why you entered this home without permission? Linda swallowed hard and looked at Maria, then at the officers.
I was just checking for HOA compliance, she stammered.
There were letters sent to her. I was worried she might be ignoring them. I didn't mean any harm. I thought I had permission. Officer Daniels raised his eyebrows. Permission must be explicit, ma'am. You cannot just enter a home because you think you have a right. Do you have any documents to support your entry? Linda shook her head, her confident demeanor now gone. She looked small and anxious. Maria noticed the shift immediately. The person who had seemed so controlling and bold just a few minutes ago was now frozen in worry. The officers moved through the house carefully. Maria's hands were still gripping her bag, but she could see that nothing had been taken or damaged. Her living room, kitchen, and bedrooms were intact. The officer returned after inspecting the main floor. Everything seems fine, ma'am, Officer Daniels said to Maria. No items are missing. No damage is visible. But entering someone's home without permission is considered a violation. We need to take statements from both of you. Maria nodded, still feeling uneasy. She walked slowly toward the driveway, keeping a safe distance from Linda. The HOA representative avoided her eyes, holding her keys tightly. Maria realized that Linda had not expected consequences for her actions. While one officer spoke to Maria, another spoke to Linda. Maria could hear bits of the conversation. You cannot just assume entry, the officer said. The law requires permission or a legal reason. Linda's voice was quiet, almost pleading. I thought I was doing the right thing, she said. Maria's neighbor, Kevin, had arrived quietly during the commotion. He walked over and whispered, Are you okay? Maria nodded, feeling slightly comforted by his presence. Kevin had always been supportive, and seeing a familiar face in this tense moment helped calm her nerves. The officers asked Maria to describe everything that had happened. She explained how she arrived home, noticed the door open, saw Linda with the keys, and immediately called Tom. She mentioned hiding behind her car and signaling with the flashlight. Officer Daniels listened carefully, jotting down notes. You acted wisely, he said. Staying outside and calling for help was the right decision. You could have been at risk if you confronted her. Maria felt a small sense of relief. It was reassuring to hear that her instincts had been correct. Meanwhile, Linda looked anxious. She seemed unsure how to explain why she had copied keys. Maria could see the tension on her face, and she realized that Linda's usual confidence had vanished. The officers took Linda's statement as well. She admitted that she had made a copy of the key without asking, believing it was justified because of repeated HOA notices. Officer Daniels frowned. This is a serious issue. Even if you believe you were helping, entering someone's home without permission is not allowed. You could face consequences for this action. Maria stayed silent, watching the interaction. She felt a mix of anger and disbelief. She had trusted the HOA to act reasonably, but now she realized that some people could misuse authority when they thought rules justified their actions. After taking statements, the officers examined the locks and found nothing unusual. They advised Maria to consider changing her locks for safety. Maria nodded. She had already felt uneasy about the keys being copied. Now the reality of the situation made it clear that security was important. You should also consider security cameras, Officer Daniels suggested. Having video evidence can help in case of future incidents. It protects you and ensures accountability. Maria made a mental note. She had avoided installing cameras before, thinking her neighborhood was safe, but this incident changed everything. Linda, still on the porch, seemed to shrink under the weight of the situation. Maria noticed that her confident smile from earlier had completely disappeared. She looked nervous, checking her surroundings as if expecting further trouble. Maria realized that the sense of power Linda had felt before entering the house had vanished. The officers then explained the next steps. They would file a report, and the HOA might be contacted to discuss rules and limits of authority. Maria listened carefully. She wanted to ensure this situation would not repeat. She had followed instructions, stayed calm, and acted intelligently, and she realized how important it was to be prepared for unexpected events. While the officers worked, Maria's thoughts wandered. She thought about the importance of boundaries, trust, and respect. Even someone in a position of authority could make mistakes or act improperly if there were no clear rules or oversight. This incident taught her that being alert and cautious was not paranoia. It was necessary for personal safety. Kevin, standing nearby, spoke quietly. "I can't believe she just walked in. It's good you handled it so calmly." Maria nodded. "I kept thinking about what could go wrong. I wanted to stay safe and not escalate things. It worked." The officers completed their inspection and gave Maria some advice on security measures. They suggested installing new locks, adding security cameras, and maintaining clear records of any future interactions with HOA representatives. Maria listened carefully, feeling a sense of control return. She realized that while she could not prevent all unexpected events, she could take steps to protect herself and her home. Linda, still standing on the porch, was finally asked to leave until the HOA handled the situation. She looked hesitant but complied. Maria watched as she walked slowly down the sidewalk, her posture stiff, her face pale. The once bold representative had been shaken by the presence of the police. Maria felt a mix of satisfaction and relief. She had stayed calm, and that had made all the difference. As the police cars drove away, Maria felt a wave of exhaustion and relief. She had faced fear, stayed alert, and protected her home. The tension that had gripped her all afternoon began to fade, replaced by a cautious sense of accomplishment. Tom arrived a few minutes later. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern written clearly on his face. Maria nodded. "I'm fine. The police handled it. Linda had no idea what was coming." Tom smiled slightly. "You did everything right. You stayed calm and smart. That's what matters." Maria took a deep breath and looked at her home. Nothing had been damaged. Nothing was missing. She realized how quickly ordinary life could be disrupted, and how important it was to stay alert. Trust her instincts and act wisely in tense situations. She thanked the officers again as they left, and Kevin stayed a little longer to ensure she felt safe. Maria knew that her life had changed subtly that day. She had learned a valuable lesson about vigilance, boundaries, and the importance of protecting herself. Even as the sun began to set, casting warm colors across her yard, Maria felt a renewed sense of control. She had faced fear, stayed calm, and emerged unharmed. The experience had been stressful, but it had also strengthened her confidence and awareness. That night, Maria locked all her doors carefully, checked the windows, and felt a small sense of satisfaction. She knew that tomorrow would bring challenges, but she was ready. She had faced one challenge and learned how to handle it. She felt empowered, knowing that she could protect herself and her home no matter what happened next. The next morning, Maria woke up early, her mind still restless. Although she had slept, the events of the previous day weighed heavily on her. She made herself a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the street slowly come to life. Neighbors were watering gardens, walking dogs, and chatting with each other, but Maria's thoughts were focused elsewhere. She had spent the night thinking about Linda and the bold way she had entered her home. It was not just about the violation itself. It was about the sense of entitlement. Maria wondered if this had happened to others in the neighborhood. She had heard rumors of HOA representatives being strict, but never this extreme. Determined to find out more, Maria decided to take action. She picked up her phone and called Kevin. "Hey, Kevin, can you come over? I want to talk about what happened yesterday and see if you know anything more about Linda." Kevin arrived within 15 minutes, his expression serious. "I heard some neighbors talking about her. They said she can be very strict, but this is the first time someone saw her actually enter a house." Maria nodded. "I think we need to figure out if this is part of a pattern. Maybe the HOA has done this before and no one reported it. I don't want anyone else to be in my position," Kevin agreed. "I can ask around quietly and see if anyone else has stories. We need facts before making any claims, but it's good to know the truth." They started walking through the neighborhood, talking to a few trusted neighbors. Mrs. Patel, who lived 2 houses down, had a small garden and was friendly with everyone. "Linda?" Mrs. Patel said, frowning. "Yes, she comes often. She checks our yards, sometimes asks questions about paint, fences, even the height of flowers. But she has never entered my house." "That's shocking." Another neighbor, Mr. Harris, confirmed something similar. "She likes to remind people about rules," he said. "Some find her helpful, others feel she is too forceful. But yesterday? That was extreme. I never thought she would actually use keys without permission." Maria and Kevin walked back to her house, thoughtful. They realized that Linda had been pushing boundaries for months, maybe even years. Maria felt a mix of relief and anger. relief that she had handled it well, and anger that such behavior had gone unchecked. Meanwhile, Linda returned to her house, sitting quietly in her living room. She avoided answering her phone and did not go outside. She seemed to be thinking carefully about what had happened. Her confident, assertive personality was gone. The realization that her actions could lead to consequences weighed heavily on her. Maria decided she needed to document everything. She took out her notebook and wrote down every detail she could remember: the time she arrived home, when she saw the door open, Linda entering, and how she had stayed calm. She also noted the police arrival, their inspection, and the advice they had given. She knew that keeping a clear record could be important if the HOA tried to dismiss her concerns. Later that afternoon, Maria received a call from the local HOA office. The voice on the phone was formal but calm. "We are aware of the incident involving Mrs. Linda and your property. We would like to schedule a meeting to discuss the situation and ensure it does not happen again." Maria agreed, feeling both cautious and determined. She wanted to make sure her concerns were taken seriously. She hung up the phone and called Kevin. "The HOA wants to meet. I want to go prepared. I don't want this to happen to anyone else." Kevin nodded. "Good. Bring your notes and be clear about what happened. You stayed calm yesterday. Now we need to be firm and factual." The next day, Maria arrived at the HOA office with her notes carefully organized. Linda was there, looking uneasy. She avoided eye contact and seemed smaller than usual. Maria felt a surge of confidence. She had stayed calm and prepared, and now it was time to make her voice heard. The meeting began formally. The HOA manager, Mr. Lewis, asked both Maria and Linda to explain their sides. Maria spoke clearly, detailing every moment of the previous day. She described seeing the door open, noticing Linda with keys, and immediately calling her friend and the police. She explained how she had stayed calm and acted to protect herself. Linda spoke next. She admitted she had entered the house, claiming she believed she had a right because of previous HOA notices. Maria listened carefully, noting the lack of planning or authorization in Linda's actions. Linda's explanation seemed weak, and Maria felt confident that she had the stronger case. Mr. Lewis listened attentively, then asked Linda why she had used the keys without explicit permission. Linda hesitated, then muttered, "I thought I was helping." "I didn't mean harm," Maria spoke firmly. "Even if you thought you were helping, entering someone's home without permission is not acceptable. It creates fear and breaks trust. It should never happen again." The manager nodded. "We take this matter very seriously. We will ensure that HOA representatives understand the limits of their authority. Mrs. Linda's actions were improper, and we will take appropriate measures to prevent a repeat. This meeting will be recorded, and a written warning will be placed on file." Maria felt a sense of satisfaction. She had spoken up calmly and clearly, and the HOA had taken responsibility for the incident. She realized that her calm actions, combined with clear documentation, had made a significant difference. As she left the office, Maria noticed Linda following quietly behind. Their eyes met briefly, and Maria could see a mix of guilt and anxiety on Linda's face. Maria did not speak but walked confidently toward her car. She knew that boundaries had been set, and she felt empowered knowing she had acted wisely. Back at home, Maria shared the update with Kevin. The HOA admitted their mistake. "Linda will be warned, and the rules about entering homes will be clear." Kevin smiled. "You handled it perfectly. You stayed calm, collected evidence, and made sure your concerns were heard." Maria nodded. She realized that this experience had taught her more than she expected. She had learned the importance of vigilance, assertiveness, and clear communication. Most importantly, she had learned that acting calmly in the face of fear could prevent escalation and protect her safety. The days that followed were quieter. Linda kept her distance, and the neighborhood returned to its normal rhythm. Maria installed new locks on her doors and added a small security camera near the front entrance. She felt a renewed sense of control and safety in her home. One evening, Maria reflected on the events while sitting on her porch. The sun was setting, casting warm colors across her yard. She realized that the incident had been stressful, but it had also strengthened her confidence. She knew she could face challenges, stay calm, and protect herself. Kevin stopped by for a brief visit. "It seems things are finally back to normal," he said. Maria smiled. "Yes, and I feel more prepared for the future. I've learned to trust my instincts and take action when needed." As the neighborhood lights turned on, Maria felt a sense of peace. She had faced a difficult situation and come through safely. The lessons she had learned would stay with her, helping her remain alert and confident. Even though Linda remained a neighbor, Maria felt a sense of distance. She respected the HOA rules but knew she would never allow anyone to cross boundaries again. Her home, her sanctuary, was safe, and she had the tools to ensure it stayed that way. The experience left Maria with a strong feeling of empowerment. She had faced fear, stayed calm, and emerged stronger. She knew that boundaries, respect, and preparedness were essential for her safety and peace of mind. In the quiet of her living room that evening, Maria smiled to herself. She had turned a frightening situation into a learning experience. She had gained confidence, knowledge, and the reassurance that she could handle unexpected challenges. The world might hold surprises, but Maria knew she could face them with courage and intelligence. A week had passed since the HOA meeting, and Maria felt a cautious sense of relief. Her home was secure, the locks had been changed, and the new security camera stood quietly by the front door. Yet she could not ignore the lingering tension she felt whenever she glanced at her neighbor Linda's house. Maria had spent the last few days reflecting on the incident. She had gained confidence in herself, knowing she had handled the situation correctly, but she also knew that some things were still uncertain. Linda had been warned, but Maria could not predict how she might act in the future. That afternoon, Maria decided to step outside and check her garden. She enjoyed tending to her flowers and plants, and it helped her calm her thoughts. She carried a watering can and smiled at the sun shining brightly overhead. Kevin was nearby, trimming hedges in his yard. "Everything okay?" he asked, noticing her glance toward Linda's house. Maria nodded. "Yes, but I still feel a little uneasy. I guess old habits die hard. I keep thinking about what could happen next." Kevin chuckled softly. "It's natural. You went through a stressful situation. But you acted smart. You stayed calm and safe. That matters more than anything." Maria smiled. "I know, I just hope Linda learned her lesson. I don't want this happening again to anyone." Just as she spoke, Maria noticed something unusual. Across the street, Linda's mailbox was open, and she seemed to be speaking quietly with another neighbor. Maria could not hear the words, but she noticed Linda glancing toward Maria's house. Maria's heart skipped a beat. "Stay calm," Kevin whispered. "We don't know what she's doing yet." Maria took a deep breath and decided to remain outside in the open, visible and confident. She knew that showing fear would only encourage any further bold behavior. She kept watering her plants, pretending to focus entirely on her garden. Suddenly, a car pulled up near the street. It was the HOA manager, Mr. Lewis, arriving unexpectedly. Maria watched as he stepped out carrying a folder. Linda seemed to tense immediately, walking quickly toward her own house. Mr. Lewis approached Maria with a friendly smile. "Hello, Maria. I wanted to stop by personally and check on the situation," he said. "I understand yesterday's incident was stressful. I want to ensure everything is resolved and that you feel safe." Maria nodded. "Thank you. I appreciate you coming. I still feel uneasy, but the police report and the HOA warning help." Mr. Lewis glanced toward Linda's house and then back at Maria. "I also spoke with Linda privately. She understands the seriousness of her actions. We are reviewing policies to prevent any unauthorized entry in the future." Maria felt a small wave of relief. It seemed the HOA was taking the matter seriously. Yet she noticed Linda watching them from behind her window. Her posture was tense, her face unreadable. Maria decided to remain polite but cautious, keeping her distance. Over the next few days, Maria noticed subtle changes in the neighborhood. Other neighbors seemed more alert and aware of HOA actions. Some whispered about the incident, while others openly discussed how important it was to respect property boundaries. Maria realized that her experience had affected not only her but also the community. One morning, Maria received an unexpected letter in her mailbox. It was from the HOA, detailing a new set of rules regarding home access and representative visits. Maria read carefully. The letter stated that HOA representatives were no longer allowed to enter homes without explicit written permission or a scheduled appointment. Maria felt satisfied. This new rule would protect everyone. She decided to share the update with Kevin and a few trusted neighbors. "This is good," she said. "Now no one else will have to go through what I did." Kevin smiled. "You made a difference. Your actions created change. That's impressive." Despite the relief, Maria could not completely ignore her curiosity. She wondered why Linda had acted so boldly in the first place. There had to be more behind it than strict rule enforcement. Maria decided to ask around quietly, seeking information without causing trouble. She spoke with Mrs. Patel again, who mentioned that Linda had recently received complaints from other neighbors about minor issues. She may have felt under pressure, Mrs. Patel said. Sometimes people react strangely when they are stressed or trying to prove something. Maria understood. People often acted unpredictably under pressure. Still, she knew boundaries must be respected, and she felt proud that she had stood firm while remaining calm. Days later, Maria noticed that Linda was no longer walking near her house. She stayed inside most of the time, avoiding eye contact and keeping a low profile. Maria realized that the warning and police involvement had consequences beyond the immediate incident. It had changed Linda's behavior, at least temporarily. One evening, Maria received a knock on her door. She opened it cautiously and found a small package with no return address. Inside was a note from Linda, apologizing for her behavior and acknowledging the mistake she had made. Maria was surprised but felt a sense of closure. Kevin, standing behind her, said, "Looks like she realized her mistake. This might be the start of better relations." Maria nodded. She felt relief and a cautious sense of optimism. Life began to return to normal. Maria spent her mornings tending to her garden and her evenings reading or talking with friends. She still maintained awareness and kept her security measures in place, but she no longer felt the constant anxiety that had gripped her before. One Saturday, Maria organized a small neighborhood gathering in her yard. She invited a few neighbors, including Kevin, Mrs. Patel, and Mr. Harris. The purpose was simple: to build community trust and strengthen neighborly relationships. Maria felt it was important for everyone to support each other, especially after the unsettling events of the past week. During the gathering, conversations turned to home security and community awareness. Maria shared her experience calmly, focusing on the lessons learned rather than the fear or anger. Neighbors listened attentively, nodding in agreement. They discussed practical steps, such as keeping doors locked, installing cameras, and respecting boundaries. Maria realized that sharing her story had not only helped her feel empowered but also educated the neighborhood. Others were now more cautious and confident. She saw small smiles, nods, and gestures of approval. Her experience had become a lesson for the entire street. As the sun set, Maria stood quietly, watching the neighborhood lights turn on one by one. She felt a sense of accomplishment and inner strength. She had faced fear, stayed calm, and acted wisely. She had documented the incident, called for help, and ensured that the HOA took proper action. Most importantly, she had learned the importance of boundaries, preparation, and vigilance. Maria knew that life might always present unexpected challenges. People could act unpredictably, and authority figures could sometimes overstep their bounds. But she also knew that her actions had made a difference. She had transformed a frightening situation into an opportunity for growth, education, and empowerment. That night, Maria locked her doors carefully, checked the camera feed, and made a mental note to continue being vigilant. She felt confident that she could face any future challenges with calmness and intelligence. Her home, once threatened by unauthorized entry, was now secure. Her community was more aware, and she had regained a sense of control over her life. As Maria settled into bed, she reflected on the journey she had experienced. Fear and uncertainty had tested her, but courage, calmness, and preparedness had guided her through. She understood that empowerment came not from avoiding challenges, but from facing them wisely. Maria fell asleep with a sense of peace. She knew that boundaries, respect, and vigilance would always be important. Her home was her sanctuary, and she had the knowledge and confidence to keep it safe. The lessons of the past week would remain with her, shaping her actions and decisions in the future. And so Maria's life moved forward, stronger and wiser. The neighborhood continued its quiet routine, but the memory of what had happened remained a reminder of the importance of vigilance, respect, and calm action in the face of unexpected challenges. The days passed quietly after the HOA gathering. Maria felt a growing sense of confidence. Her home was secure, her neighborhood more aware, and Linda, the HOA representative, kept her distance. Still, Maria remained alert. She had learned that unexpected events could occur at any time, and being prepared was essential. One morning, Maria stepped outside to check her mailbox. As she sorted through letters, she noticed something unusual. A small envelope, handwritten, was placed neatly on top of the rest. The handwriting was unfamiliar. She opened it carefully and found a note inside. It read, "Dear Maria, I want to thank you for your patience and composure. I have learned a valuable lesson from recent events. I will respect your boundaries and those of the neighborhood. Sincerely, Linda." Maria felt a wave of relief. Linda had acknowledged her actions and apologized. It was a rare moment of accountability, and Maria recognized it as a positive step forward. She placed the note in her drawer for safekeeping and continued with her day, feeling lighter. Later that afternoon, Maria decided to visit the HOA office. She wanted to ensure that the new policies were clear and properly enforced. Mr. Lewis greeted her warmly. "Maria, I am glad you came," he said. "We have implemented stricter rules about entering homes. Representatives now must have explicit written permission, and any visits must be scheduled and documented. Your experience helped us improve our procedures." Maria nodded. "I appreciate that. It is important that no one else goes through what I did. The rules should protect everyone." Mr. Lewis smiled. "Absolutely. Your calm and clear actions made a difference. You acted responsibly, and it guided us to improve our policies." Feeling satisfied, Maria left the office and walked through the neighborhood. She noticed neighbors chatting, smiling, and enjoying the sunny afternoon. The atmosphere was calm and friendly, a stark contrast to the tension of the previous week. Maria felt proud. Her actions had not only protected her, but had also influenced her community positively. That evening, as Maria relaxed in her living room, she reflected on the lessons she had learned. Fear and uncertainty could appear suddenly, but staying calm and acting wisely could prevent escalation. Documentation, preparation, and a clear mind were powerful tools. She felt stronger, more capable, and ready for any future challenges. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. She opened it to find Kevin standing there, carrying a small box. "I thought you might like a little reward for being the neighborhood hero," he said with a grin. Inside the box were small potted plants for her garden, each labeled with inspiring words like courage, patience, and strength. Maria smiled. "Thank you, Kevin. This is thoughtful. It reminds me of everything I have learned." Kevin chuckled. "You did everything right. You stayed calm, followed the rules, and handled the situation perfectly. Everyone here is safer because of your actions." Maria placed the plants carefully on her porch. She looked around at her garden, now bright and colorful, and felt a deep sense of peace. She realized that her home was not only secure, but also a place where she could grow, both literally and metaphorically. Days later, the neighborhood held a small community meeting, this time organized by residents rather than the HOA. Maria attended along with Kevin, Mrs. Patel, and a few others. The focus was on safety, communication, and supporting each other. Maria shared her experience calmly, emphasizing the lessons she had learned rather than the fear or frustration she had felt. Neighbors listened attentively. Some asked questions about home security, while others discussed the importance of clear communication and boundaries. Maria felt proud to contribute positively, knowing that her actions had created awareness and encouraged unity. Linda was not present at the meeting. Maria understood that she needed time to reflect on her actions. However, the note she had received earlier, combined with the HOA's new policies, assured Maria that the situation was unlikely to repeat. One morning, Maria decided to review her security camera footage from the past week. She watched carefully, noting how the camera had captured movement near her front door and how it had helped her feel safer. The video served as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and preparedness. Maria also noticed how quickly she had reacted during the incident. She realized that staying calm and thinking clearly had prevented potential problems and ensured her safety. Later that afternoon, Maria received a friendly visit from Mrs. Patel. "Maria, I want to thank you," Mrs. Patel said. "Because of what you did, the neighborhood feels more aware. People are paying attention to boundaries and safety now." Maria smiled. "I am glad. It is important for everyone to feel safe and respected. We all learn from each other's experiences." The conversation reminded Maria of another important lesson. Courage and calmness could inspire others. She had faced fear, remained composed, and acted responsibly. Her example encouraged her neighbors to be vigilant, thoughtful, and respectful. Weeks passed and life returned to a sense of normalcy. Linda's presence in the neighborhood remained cautious, and she followed the new HOA rules strictly. Maria noticed that the tension that had once hung over her street was gone. People walked freely, smiled at each other, and respected boundaries. Maria continued her daily routines, tending to her garden, working from home, and spending time with Kevin and other neighbors. Her home felt like a sanctuary once again, secure and peaceful. She had learned the value of preparation, vigilance, and calm decision-making. One evening, as Maria sat on her porch watching the sunset, she reflected on the journey she had undergone. Fear and uncertainty had tested her, but she had responded with intelligence and courage. She realized that empowerment came not from avoiding challenges, but from facing them wisely. Her phone rang. It was Tom. "Maria, how are you? I heard everything has settled." "I'm doing well," Maria replied. "Life is calmer and I feel stronger. The neighborhood is safer, and the HOA has improved policies. It's been quite a journey." Tom laughed softly. "You handled it perfectly. I knew you would. You stayed calm, prepared, and protected yourself. That's something to be proud of." Maria smiled. "Thank you, Tom. I learned a lot, and I hope others can learn from my experience too." As she hung up, Maria looked around her yard, her garden bathed in golden light. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had faced fear, acted wisely, and ensured her home and neighborhood were safer. Her confidence had grown, and she knew she could face future challenges with calmness and intelligence. The neighborhood settled into a comfortable routine, and Maria continued to thrive in her home. She stayed alert but no longer anxious, confident but not arrogant. She had learned that clear thinking, patience, and calm action were powerful tools in difficult situations. Finally, Maria reflected on the change in Linda. The once bold HOA representative had learned boundaries and the importance of respect. Maria realized that consequences could encourage growth, and that fairness, patience, and accountability could create positive change. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Maria felt a deep sense of peace. Her home was secure, her community stronger, and she was empowered. She had faced a frightening situation and emerged wiser, calmer, and more confident. Maria knew that life would continue to present challenges, but she also knew that she had the knowledge, courage, and composure to face them. Her experience had transformed her fear into strength and her uncertainty into confidence. She had learned that calm action, clear thinking, and preparedness could turn any difficult situation into an opportunity for growth. With that thought, Maria closed her eyes and breathed deeply. Her home, her sanctuary, was safe. Her neighborhood was aware and respectful. And most importantly, Maria felt empowered, confident, and ready for whatever life might bring next.